Silverized Society.
Welcome to the Silver Eye Society podcast, the podcast where we look at film to find the ancient themes behind our modern issues. This is our monthly AMA. So we're taking questions from our readers, listeners, watchers, however you identify as a consumer of media. And you guys have some great questions this month, as always. So we're cutting our length down here, so this is going to be a relatively brief AMA. You're currently watching the public portion, in which we are going to answer the questions, what have we changed our mind on in the last few months or year that is substantial? And we'll also discuss whether there are any specific places left now that are havens for freedom. Pretty intense topic of discussion. And as the AMA progresses, you will see it go to the patron-only section. And that is, if you are not a member of the Silver Eye Society, you will be left out in the cold as we answer some more interesting questions, like our favorite living philosophers/thinkers, as well as our beliefs and understanding of Jung's collective unconscious. So stay tuned, sit tight. Let us move on to the AMA. Do you have a word of the podcast? Are you going to do that? Are you going to, throw something in here?
We don't do the word of the podcast in the AMAs.
I never know what you're doing or what we're going to do, so I have to check. So shall we jump right into the question, or do you have something that you need to do, like, I don't know, introduce yourself or take up some space?
Yeah, I thought maybe I'd call out to the people for help, because I wanted to bring my friend in, Cyber Socrates, to answer questions this month. And I was told that would be a wrong thing to do. And I just think that the people in the comment section just write in Cyber Socrates if you want to, if you want to see Cyber Socrates come in, leave it in the comments. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, well, I am trying to keep this insane, fragmented brand that is the Silver Eye Society from fragmenting further. That is my only qualm. Cyber Socrates will have his day. Oh boy. See, this is the problem with the contrarian spirit. Sometimes you just have to fuck things up for no reason.
I can't be controlled.
Nor does anybody want to control you, so don't worry.
Well, good.
Well,
then
okay,
they
maybe
can't.
me. All right.
They can't, yeah.
Let's get into our first question. What substantive matter have you changed your opinion on in recent months or years? Specifically, political, moral, or philosophical, not mundane things like pizza toppings. Well, I thought about this, and I love this question because I always love when people want to know what you've changed your views on, because I think that we get so focused on what are your views? What are your views? And it is often more interesting to discuss what people have changed their mind on. And we don't do that very often, which is why it makes it an interesting topic of discussion. But
That's a big lead up. Why don't you just answer the question?
I'm getting to it, because the thing is that it says not mundane things like pizza toppings, but actually pizza toppings is a substantial change in view for me, because I used to not eat meat, and now I do. And this was a moral change. I used to not eat meat as a vegetarian for reasons of ethics primarily, but also health reasons. And I didn't eat meat for years. And it's only in the last year, less than a year, that I've started eating meat. In the last month, I've even cooked red meat my own self twice. So I don't even know how to do it. I'm kind of scared that I'm going to poison myself. That's how long it's been since I've cooked meat. But this wasn't just, a change in cuisine. I used to think that it was unethical to consume animals. And while I never was able to make it all the way to cheese, because that's my favorite food, it was pretty easy for me to stop eating meat. And I do still think that I think that it's more about the way the meat is harvested now. So there's been nuance to my view.
Do you harvest a lot of meat? Is that what people do with meat? They harvest it?
Yeah, that is what they do. I mean, that's the proper
I don't
terminology.
think people harvest meat.
They fucking do. They do. You harvest eggs. You do. I mean, obviously, like,
Okay, well,
you
I think
do.
that at least that it's been clear that it is true that you haven't eaten meat because you use phrases like harvest meat. And I'm pretty sure that it's not.
You harvest.
No, you don't
crops,
harvest meat.
and
That's not.
livestock
Harvest is
technically
used
a
for.
crop.
No. See,
Okay, it's
well,
not a
now,
crop, but,
like,
like, you
now
know what
you've
I
gone
mean.
to
It's
the
like-
meat. You take on the meat industry's language. Like now, animals are crops. I'll just stop you right now. Like, you eat all the meat you want, but here's the thing. I think you ought to go kill the animals yourself. That's what I
Well,
think.
let's not.
At least once. I think you should go out and kill the animals yourself and then eat meat. Just
Yeah.
once. I'm not saying you should be a slaughterhouse
Okay,
employee. I'm saying
yeah.
it just one time. Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, I agree. I don't think that's wrong. I haven't had the opportunity to do that yet.
Well,
Well,
I'm not saying you should just go start slaughtering cows,
Just
random
find one.
cows. Like, that's not what should
No.
happen. But
yeah. Well,
anyway,
maybe.
sorry, go ahead. I don't want to. Yeah, harvesting meat. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, this was kind of a big thing because there was also all this lore around it, right? Which is, I'm not participating in like big agriculture, and I'm not, harming animals, and like it's it's an ethical stance, and there was also the health side of it that I was like, well, this is bad for you too. And then I started to learn more about the difference between processed meat and red meat, and how this actually makes a major difference in the health effects. So, like most things that you end up changing your mind on, if you find more nuance on the topic and you find that there's more details behind something than you originally thought, it's not as simple or black and white, then it becomes more complex. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's just like a little bit complex. I haven't even finished, totally honing my new view. So what do I do? Am I only going to buy like organic meat? That's not it. Like, does it have to be local? Like, how much do I eat it? I don't even, I'm in the process of reformulating my view on what I consume and what that means for both me and then my impact on the world. So this is a mind change that's still in progress.
Great. Well, I know everyone's really interested in hearing about what we eat. One of my favorite things is just to listen to people's dietary suggestions.
I mean,
for hours
it kind
on
of
end.
isn't it? Like, that's what everybody does, is post pictures of their food. So you mock this, but I think actually people really do like to know what other people are eating.
They do, but they're wrong. So
Those things.
what is it my turn now to tell you about?
That's
So-
right. What is something substantial that you have changed your mind on? I can't wait to
Why
hear
don't you give me a
this.
time period? I need a time period.
That's weird. Oh, it's between months to a year. Months, years.
So let's do this quick. Politically, I have become more conservative. I cannot deny that. It is a fact. Now, I'm not certain, though, that I've actually become more conservative. What I think might have happened is I've been standing in place and everything just shifted. And now it looks like I'm more conservative. So I'm not exactly sure that I've become more conservative. I think more, though, to be fair to myself, first off, as I get older, it's a well-known fact that statistically, as people get older, they tend to go towards that route sometimes. So I can't exclude myself from that, pretend like I'm not just another statistics. I'm just another stat, But I do think that from what I've seen over the last couple of years or so, and particularly during the time of the pandemic, that I've seen so many different shifts. One of them being a kind of anti-intellectualism on the left, which I did not expect because I always associated it with
Free thought,
thinking
inquiry,
and
whatever.
open
Yeah.
thought and free speech and things like that. That's changed. Not for everybody. There's still plenty of people on the left that haven't changed, but there's a big change. I can't truck with that. That's what I say. That's what conservatives say. I can't truck with it. Just so you know. Yeah, I can't do that. So that's changed. It has. I mean, I have to admit that. It's a weird admission. I'm not like dressed up in American flags all the time, running around doing boat parades or something. But there's been a shift. There has. Morally changes on the moral side of things. I've really stayed in a lot of ways the same person I've been since I was a very young person. I can't think of anything morally that I've changed. I've tried to be nicer. It's not working out great, but I have tried to be a little like calmer with people and not as bitter and immediately trying to sting, which I do. I think I do that a little too much sometimes. I've tried to calm it down a little bit. Why do you look like you? That's not true. Have I not moderated my personality to a degree?
I mean, I guess you have actually, yeah, to a degree is what I would emphasize.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You seem pretty nice on the podcast. The people don't know. But that's okay.
Yeah. So nice. I don't care for that word that much.
Yeah, it is kind of a bland way to be.
Yeah.
Who cares? Don't be nice. But you're acidic.
Yeah. So morally, I haven't changed that much as far as I can tell. And then what's the other thing?
You don't have to do all of them, but yeah, sure.
But I want to.
Okay,
I want to because no one wants to hear that you eat sausages now. No one cares.
That's actually
they want
a
to hear
huge
the words
fucking deal, okay? Because this indicates a cultural change, all right? I was part of the whole leftist, all the liberals that don't eat meat. Now I'm like, you know what? I'm going to cook a steak. Like, this is it, okay? You know that the youth are also, like, my generation is like, hey, you know what? Let's smoke cigarettes now. Like, it's kind of a trend that's coming back.
That may not be a great idea.
Of course it's not. But that's what I'm trying to point out is that there's this shift, right? Because once upon a time, it was like, oh, be healthy, blah, 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 all this stuff. And now it's kind of just like disillusionment. Very, like, doomer vibes, like...
Yeah, it's not great. That. I've smoked cigarettes since I was a youth.
Yeah, you're different. You're actually addicted. It's not fun. Like,
right. So maybe you shouldn't like LARP around as someone that is smoking cigarettes and eating steaks. Like, I mean, I don't know what all this shit is. It's probably some internet phenomenon or whatever. What?
Eating steaks that's not how do you LARP eating a steak? Like you just do it.
But is it? I feel like is it part of this whole thing where like younger people are like, I just want to live like with 1940s or something, and they're like trying to smoke an unfiltered Camel and like coughing and being sad, and then they get on Instagram and buy like like ketamine or whatever online or whatever, which now they just sell for free to make you. It's a little like
we're untethered.
Anyway, look,
we're untethered. We're unhinged. It's the future is now. So, hey, but I think actually eating steak, the other point of that, the thing that shifted me was that I started to feel very lightheaded all the time. And I was like, I think I'm sick. So I thought maybe it was iron. And that helped to convince me also. And then I kind of just kept eating meat. So it's a mess over here. Changing your mind is messy, okay? That's the thing people have to understand. It's not this glamorous process where you just, I'm so enlightened, I just switch out views as I need to and I grow and progress as a person. It's actually like if there's this messy part where it's like, damn, I don't know what I actually believe and I'm trying to form new beliefs around that and a new way of being based upon these new beliefs. So it's like I think it's actually a gradual challenging, uncomfortable process. And I think maybe if we look at it more like that instead of like sockets and plugs that we just like pop out one belief and put in another, that maybe people will understand what it's like to engage with that and be less resistant to that process.
Yeah, well, I'm fine with, whatever people want to do.
Okay, so how have you changed philosophically?
I mean, no one, as far as I know, lives their life philosophically. Now, I mean, there's one person I know that lives their life philosophically, and that person is named Cyber Socrates, but he has been silenced on the platform today. So anyway, I can't answer that question very well.
That's how that goes for him. In death,
people don't live their life based on...
Oh my gosh,
they don't
it's
live
not
their
like
life
that.
based on philosophy.
it's not about how you live your life based on philosophy differently now. What philosophical ideas have you changed your mind on? You warp the questions in real time. Like, truly, it's just like I used to think that Nietzsche was right, and now I know that he's even more right. Like, there's something, like this. It's not the way you're describing it. How do you live philosophy?
I don't. Well, doesn't it say that? But I received these questions via text message, a shady picture on text message only hours ago, with the demand that number one, Cyber Socrates couldn't speak, and also that I had to record. So, what is this fucking question?
It's just
I'm reading.
What substantive matter have you changed your opinion on in recent months and years, i.e., political, moral, or philosophical? So, what is there an opinion?
Okay. No, philosophically, no, because I don't hold a lot of strong philosophical beliefs, which I then shift. I'm reading Daybreak by Friedrich Nietzsche right now, and I read Human All Too Human a few months ago, and I'm moving through that. And but no, I haven't. I don't think that I've shifted my philosophy much.
I've slightly shifted my philosophy on astrology because of Jung. I just thought the whole thing was total bunk. And now that I've understood more about how Jung approached astrology, and I'm a little more soft with it. I'm tolerant of it. I still think most of it is bunk, but I'm more tolerant of the desire to engage in that bunk now, at least. So that's a change. That is a change. We just changing all over the place. Transients. Don't
Should
comment.
I leave that? Should I let that go? Should I just let that go?
If people want to know more about why I changed my view on astrology, they can watch one of the Jung episodes we did. It's called The Doors of Perception, the Club Doors of Perception, the Library Circus episode. We'll link it. Okay, are we ready to go on?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm briefly say, I would tolerate people who understand Jung's conception of astrology, who read astrology, but I wouldn't necessarily tolerate just astrology in general. That's a mistake.
You don't tolerate it? What are you going to do? You have to. That's the whole idea.
I'm standing here in an intolerant posture.
You're intolerant.
I'm intolerantly standing firm on the fact that you can't read just random astrology. You know what? Smoke your cigarettes, do your astrology, eat your sausages. The world is over. It's fine. Let's move on.
Okay, question number 2. Are there any specific places left now that you see as a haven for freedom? Pretty heavy question. Oh, yeah. Florida's pretty up there, man. Florida's pretty up there because the difference with Florida is that they don't get so crazy about being like, we're going to pass new laws to block out the bad laws that we don't like. And it's like, no. Get rid of the bad laws, but don't put anything else in their place. That's the way to go.
Well, they do that, to be fair.
Not as much as Texas and Tennessee.
I don't know.
That's the problem. That's why, everybody run into Texas thinking it's the land of the free. Listen, okay? It's not as much, because then they get over eager over there and it's like, let's fucking ban every abortion. It's like, yeah, whatever, I guess, but don't. Also don't. Like, leave it alone. Leave people alone. Let them have their abortions. Let them do that. That's the right thing to do. You got to leave people alone.
I'm not going to get in. I'm not going to talk about this.
I don't know what you can do in Florida. They don't let you have every abortion. You can't do it all the time. But,
I really haven't checked up on those laws.
I checked it up recently because there's a bunch of hoopla about, I think Florida introduced a new bill that they were cutting it down. But it was kind of like, you can't abort your baby if it's 6 months old in the womb. And it's like, is that a problem for someone? Like, if that's a problem, isn't that a problem? That anyone is trying to abort a 6-month-old fetus. I don't know. Okay, look, I don't know. I don't know the details of the law, but I know that it like cut down the window. But it's like, do it early. Like, put it on the to-do list, get it done. Okay, don't procrastinate on the abortion. Like, come on. At what point do we need to kind of say, hey, you fucked up, so sorry? Not good though. Either way, everybody loses. Okay, everybody loses in that situation, I guess.
I'll only point out one thing about this entire debate, which is fundamental to it, and which is that there's a significant amount of people in this country who believe that when you're doing that, you're literally killing a human being. And then there's a significant part of the country who does not believe that whatsoever. And until that is fundamentally decided, this is just I don't know what we're doing. Like we're like having this debate and it goes all over the place. You have to. That's the crux of it.
Though? Like that's the thing.
But you can't really. But see, it's not a compromisable issue because it's about. In some people's eyes, it's literally about murdering people, and then in other people's eyes, it's about not that. Do you see that's the problem?
Well,
that like you can compromise on other stuff. Like
you got
what should the tax rate be? 39%, 45%? I don't know. Let's meet in the middle. Let's isn't one of those things.
Of the abortion.
But that's not. It doesn't work.
Ban, not 8 months. Abortion. Just right in the middle.
Right, but it's not. It doesn't. It's not good for that because there's a fundamental problem where religious people believe that I guess the majority of them believe that life starts at conception. If you believe that, you can't say, well, okay, let's compromise on it's cool. But even though it's kind of weird because doesn't the Texas law have something that says like it's some real short period? It's like 6 weeks or something, right?
It was
like you're still allowed to, but it's like 6 weeks. So then in a way, like that doesn't make sense either because if you believe that life starts against you're like, well, but hey, but 6 week your whole life doesn't matter. It's just a mess. It's a mess until it's decided and we'll never come to agreement on this.
No.
There's no agreement. And
this used to be the big issue, though. When I was younger, this was like the hot thing. This was like abortion rights. Now it's like, the Supreme Court is ruling. I'm like, I don't fucking care, dude. I'll do it in the backyard. Like, try and fuck with me at this point. Like, who cares anymore? It's not interesting.
Smoking a cigarette.
Reading a steak. Like, I'll do it myself.
Smoking a cigarette, an abortion.
Like on welcome to my channel. This is how you perform a backyard abortion. Like, it's old. It's tired. Why are we doing this anymore? Now we have new things to fight about. And it's like, are they going to hold you down and force the jab in you? Like, now we've got fresh things. And still they bring up the abortion. It's never going to be resolved.
But it is because it's fundamental. And it's funny because this issue really does bring to light a fundamental difference in the population of this country where this is a fundamental question.
This is why people say that they want to do the national divorce, right? They want to split the country. I don't know where these people are going. I don't think they have figured.
But you don't need that. That's unnecessary.
I agree, but also I don't even fundamentally understand what the national divorce. Maybe I shouldn't talk about it if I don't understand it, but I am curious to talk about it anyway because it's like, okay, so we're going to get rid of the kind of like tyranny leftists, right? That are just like the state should do everything, including like mandate medical procedures and whatever, like all the things, censor, blah, 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 all the stuff that we don't like. Because the people that are kind of into this national divorce idea tend to be like more liberal. They're not actually conservative. I don't hear this from conservatives too much. But where are they going? Like, are they going, are we conceding land to the like NYC mandate type leftists, and then we're going to hang out with like the fundamentalist anti-abortion people? Like, that seems, we're going to need to do a triple national divorce, which is like, okay, you get the far left over there, they got their shit. Now you have to have the conservatives got to have their shit because they're also into government. Like, that's what people don't understand is like both of them are wrong because they're both like, I'm going to use the government to force people to follow along with my shit. So it's like there needs to be a third sliver in the national divorce where the people that are like, we don't want to be subjected to either of these things can live. I guess that's an island. None of this is necessary. Freedom Island.
The solution exists already, which is that states should have a lot of space to change their laws. So here's the thing. If you have a bunch of fundamentalist Baptist Christians that live in Texas and they don't want abortion, I understand that that's a problem, and that's a problem for a lot of people. But the state, I'm just saying, against the idea of let's split up the country so everybody can have their way, which is dumb and no one's going to do that anyway.
First
And
of
if
all, we
it
cannot
did
do
split
that.
up, what it would...
What are we gonna? Isn't that like literally conquer and divide? Like, wouldn't we immediately become
Divide and conquer.
You know what I mean? Wouldn't we immediately become like weak little nations that are now dependent on other nations? Like, would we still
Well,
have?
how far do you want to go into this? I mean, because we started the country as individual 13 colonies that have come together in a union of some sense, but
Yeah,
not
but England fell
people
in
people
superpower
back.
stance. You know what I'm saying?
There's
And
a
then
lag
America
on this.
rose.
America rose, superpower. I can't hear because your internet sucks. So I don't know.
Oh.
Wherever.
I was saying that England used to be the superpower of the world, and then America eventually rose as England fell and kind of lost that like stance as the superpower of the world. Of
Yeah, it
course,
took 150 years, though, not till World War
Yeah.
One. I mean, we started the country in 1776 is the declaration, but I mean,
I'm not arguing the dates. I'm just saying
the
that
reality is that the divide is between the cities and the countryside anyway in this country now. So the idea of changing this, like breaking up in terms of regions or states, is kind of stupid because
That's true.
the people that live in rural New York share more in common with the people that live in rural West Virginia, and the people that live in New York City share more than the people that live in the capital, West Virginia, wherever the fuck that is. I think it's Charleston or Richmond or something. I don't remember. But so
That's true.
I don't know I don't even understand this idea of let's.
So it needs to be actually everybody is kind of like not looking at the right problem. Maybe it's that I think the federal government has grown so much in a certain kind of power, or at least in a certain kind of focus, where we're all more focused on federal issues and that level of politics than local. And maybe that's kind of the problem, is that people shouldn't have to feel like they need to be thwarting or enacting something at the federal level.
Correct. That's where I'm more libertarian, and where I think that the federal government should slowly start to release some of the powers that it has, because it's taking on too much. Even for the sake of the people that run the federal government, they should understand they're taking on too much, and then they're failing in the eyes of significant portions of people and delegitimizing themselves. What the easiest thing to do for everybody, like I'm not advocating some like super libertarian or like all the states have to do whatever they want to do, all that. I'm saying maybe we should scale it back a little bit here so that everybody can. Now the opposite argument that would be, well, when you centralize power you can be more efficient, but I don't actually even agree with that.
I don't think that's panning out.
Well,
It's more efficient, but for whom?
it's not even more efficient, honestly. Centralized power isn't more efficient a lot of times. It's a lie. It's the lie that is behind a lot of the lie that is behind central planning and communism. It's retarded. I'm not supposed to say that. It's
But it
no,
is.
it is retarded. Communism is retarded. I said it on YouTube there. Fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, if you get penalized for that, then
I'm done. Yeah.
we're
All right.
all
So
done.
is that the end of our AMA?
Is that the haven for freedom though? Just Florida?
Wait. What? Oh, sorry. This was actual
Oh wait,
question.
I
We
want to
started
answer
talking
the
about
question.
abortion.
I want to answer the question. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
the thing is that I actually do think the United States is still relatively the haven for freedom. We defeated the vaccine mandates. Like, we actually managed to escape that. It's fucking awesome. Okay. I was nervous because I think that that's deeply ethically wrong. At this, for this particular injection, at this particular time, with the incredibly transient knowledge that we have about it and the situation, even, that's far too overreaching and far too rushed. So, and just unprecedented. I really don't like it at all. The whole thing is untrustworthy at many levels. But you saw a lot of the European countries just hop to it. And that, I think, was the time. I've never been more grateful to live in the United States. Watching Canada descend into like not a democracy, whatever it is that they were calling themselves. I mean, it's just straight up enforcement. They're just locking people. I forget what place it was in Canada that it was just like the Omicron variant came out and they
Montreal.
were like, oh, it was Montreal that was like 10 p.m. lockdowns. What? That's not, that I don't understand that idea that my government could tell me for a mild variant of this virus that I am now forced to stay in my home at a curfew. Are there, is there an invasion of an enemy? Like there's these measures are emergency measures. That's not a fucking emergency. That's someone's personal decision about the risk that they want to take on. This is not even like polio, okay? And I don't know if they were doing lockdowns for polio, so I can't make a claim on that comparison. But it's also like, look, this is a little bit too far at this point. So I've never been more grateful.
Well, it's also at a point in time where everyone who wants to have the vaccine has had more than enough time to take it. So At this point, if you don't want it and you want to rock out, then risk. I don't understand the logic anymore behind, like, I could understand the logic. I could understand the logic, even though I wouldn't agree with it, that, hey, we have this thing. If you want to take this, it will help you get better or whatever it is the claim is. But now, what are we doing? It's fucking 2020. I mean, it's 2022. What are we doing here? I don't know. But there's no reason to believe that Canada is some sort of like great democracy. I mean, it's
no,
well, number
it
one,
was a
they but no, I mean, to be fair, they voted for this. Trudeau came up for re-election recently and he got re-elected. They voted for this.
He's the most like champagne liberal I've ever seen in my life, and it's really coming to the forefront. Like the things that some of the leaders have said also, like straight up, what is this guy from France, whoever he was?
Macron.
I guess it was him that was like something about like wanting to make unvaccinated citizens feel unwelcomed, feel otherized.
I said I want to piss off the unvaccinated.
Yeah, something like this. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, who do you think you fucking are? Like, your entire position is dependent on the people of that country. What do you mean you want to piss them off? Like, but
because he's doing polling. He knows that the people probably in general that are unvaccinated in France tend to be more to the right, so they're going to vote for Le Pen and the other guy, the new guy.
Blame them anyway.
I remember his name, Zemmour or something. And so he's just doing it. They're doing this little thing. It's very dangerous. People are
dangerous.
Are taking this issue, which they shouldn't do, and
they're playing with some
pushing
fire.
People up, and they're pushing them against each other, and it's really not. It's really, regardless of what you think, man, it's not a good idea to pit people against each other with something like this,
especially with this kind of language. That's what kills me, is this language that we've seen already throughout history that dehumanizes people and puts them as the scapegoat for all of people's anger and resentment and fear, and makes them bear the brunt. I mean, you have this rhetoric popping up again, and the unvaccinated are to blame. Well, that's fucking wrong now. So now we know that that's incontrovertibly wrong. It is not, unvaccinated people that are more spreading it, or that are even more in the hospitals at this point, because there's plenty of people that are vaccinated and there are just as much of them in the hospital too. So at this point, like, by
number, but they would say, and they would be correct in saying that's
more
because
likely,
a larger proportion.
Fair
a larger
enough.
Proportion of people are vaccinated, so that's why the gross number is higher and all this kind of stuff.
The problem
I mean, look,
man,
here's the thing.
Well, let me put an addendum to that thought also, is like, then are we going to blame people that are obese? Are we going to blame people that are elderly and be like, it's their fault that the hospitals are overflowing? Like, we see that that's actually really fucking ugly to do it, so we don't want to do that then. But it's like, when you get this new target, right, that's like fresh in a way, somehow it doesn't have all of the it's not tied to so many of these different, senses we have of like, it's bad to, shame people for being fat or whatever. Unvaccinated,
I don't feel that at all.
It's just this like neutral, boogeyman that you can just lob all your hate and fear onto. But it's real.
It's
people.
not neutral though. That's the danger.
Of course
That's the danger.
not.
Because
yeah.
No, because the play is you make people that are vaccinated feel afraid of the people that are unvaccinated, and that gives them a legitimate, because there is logic to that. If it's like, okay, you're more likely to spread a disease to me, then there is some logic and an ability to get people to be against those people. It's pretty abstract when you're like, oh, you're fat, so you're going to be more likely to be in the hospital, and then that sucks because I have to pay health insurance or something. It's too many steps. This is something that's been almost 2 years of fear, constant fear, and for some genuinely good reason, especially early on, like legitimate reasons. The fucking pandemic is scary. Yeah. People, I wish more than anything, and then I'll end this because I've spent so much time not talking about this in the podcast. I don't want to get into it, because we could have done this all year, but there's enough people talking about it. The one thing I wish everyone would do is just say, hey, you know what? There were times where I was afraid. People should admit it a little bit. Like, people should just admit that they've been afraid and that fear has caused them to maybe sometimes act irrationally. And I mean that for everybody. Mm-hmm. You'll get some people who be like, I was not afraid. I believe nothing. Mm-hmm. But I'll remind everyone that 14 days to stop the spread started under Trump. So, it's not like, I know this has become now this thing that's become a left-right thing, but people's memories are very short. And so I'm just riding it out, man. That's why I didn't really want to get into this subject a lot, because I really do fundamentally believe that, like, people need to do what they feel is best for themselves. And I actually believe that it's a health procedure and everyone can fuck off. They don't need to know what I'm going to do. Yeah. Like what business? Yeah, at this point. No, and in every case, why have we forgotten this?
I mean,
it's literally, you go to the doctor and you sign a little HIPAA form and all that. Why have we forgotten this idea that we're supposed to? No one has the right to know.
I know. I agree. I think that the problem with this argument, right, is that, but this is an infectious illness, so it has an impact on other people. It's not the same as like going and getting a colonoscopy or something or whatever it is. But the vaccines don't stop transmission. So this is a moot point at this point. In the beginning, when it was like, okay, if these vaccines can stop the transmission of this illness, it definitely becomes a more difficult argument to parse out ethically when you not getting it is more likely to mean that you transmit it to someone else than someone who has gotten it. But that's not what this is at all. So for better or for worse, that point is no longer valid. So there actually is, this is a personal choice. It truly is. So it's a weird thing though, because there's all these elements, right? We want to blame people and it's still it's so much easier to try to whip up agreement for a cause if you can say that, like, they're going to cause mass harm and all that. So it's just this cycle. And it's not good because, that combined with the kind of alarmist, extremist rhetoric that is growing just naturally, seems to just be growing. The ante is upped on all sides, media, whatever it is, just to use more alarmist language. But also, I think that that's very much fostered by social media, this idea that, like, as the most alarmist language is going to get you the most traction. So I think as a culture, we're getting unhinged. Like, we're just literally becoming unhinged. And
I'm positive about this. I want to stop. I want to be optimistic. I actually want to be optimistic for once, because what I think's actually started to happen, and I think this is on both the right and the left. Number one, everyone's exhausted from this, the constant fear thing. And also, I think that a lot of people have started to see through this. They've started to see, you're trying to scare me. Mm-hmm. Not everybody. There's still people that are that don't feel that way. But I think that this is, in some sense, a bigger problem than people understand, because a lot of the fundamental assumptions about and certainties about, the media is not going to lie to me entirely, that has eroded. And that's unfortunate. It really is in a lot of ways. But I mean, look, I can't watch another fucking idiot say that ivermectin is horse dewormer. No. I can't do it anymore. It's like, what? Okay. Like, I understand it was inside that also. That inside that medicine's there too. But like,
it's silly talk.
This has become so blatantly absurd.
Yeah.
in so many different ways.
In so many different ways. I have the sense that you do too, though, that it's just right. There's negative and there's positive, because what I keep seeing is that there's this backlash. So we've seen this wave of really bad things. It is very frightening to see how quickly legacy media, institutions, politicians will hop to it to take advantage of an emergency situation and fearful population to push really extreme, fast-paced measures. That's not the right approach. That's very hard to do, first of all. If you're able to make very sound, good decisions quickly with little information under lots of pressure, you're a historic person. And it's most likely that you are not holding a political office at this point in time.
Florida. And by the way, like,
Yeah,
again,
well,
this
really
goes back to the original question
really
of
kept it
like,
real.
I could understand early on the emergency measures and like, hey, I
Yeah,
could
but
at
we
least
didn't
get my head
know.
around
Yeah.
it. Makes sense. You don't know.
No, that
But
makes
then once
sense.
data starts to come in, look,
Once
there
it's
is
been a
one
year.
governor that made a decision here in Florida, like, we're not going to do a lot of this. And I'm very surprised. I did not expect to be in the position that I'm in, where I'm like, yeah, I'm for him.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it. This is goes back to the first question. How have you changed?
Yep.
I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm look at it and I see that this person's decisions, DeSantis, his decisions have not led to worse outcomes than other places.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like he's right. And there's a bunch of people that cannot stand the idea that he may have been right. And it's unfortunate. It would have been better if he said, okay, well, this guy, maybe he had a better idea. Maybe we should switch it around. But politically, he couldn't do it. And so, anyway.
That's a really good example.
Time to end AMA 1.
I mean, it's a really good example of...
Don't Fauci my Florida.
Oh,
Bye.
Jesus. No. I'm not done. I just want to say, though, that
Okay,
I think something that I was talking about today also is the way that our politicization of everything, right? Including a medicine, like a literal medication has become politicized. If you, quote unquote, support a medicine, it means you're either in this camp or that camp. That's incredibly dangerous on a level that I don't even think we have begun to grapple with, because it means that there's going to be a serious incentive to either promote or obscure things not based on actual evidence, but based on what camp it puts you in and who it pleases. And when that comes to having sway in the medical field, in science, that's incredibly damaging. It's kind of frightening to think that we're getting to a point where you can find out information through research and it would be considered the wrong finding, and you would hope that you could find some other information because you wouldn't want to have to come out and say, actually, this medication does hold efficacy. The fact that we're getting to a point where things like this are politicized is so damaging for being able to find what works. Because, yeah, right, the ideal thing would be to look at how other states are doing things and say, okay, yeah, that's a Republican state or whatever, and they took a different approach. But hey, they haven't had to be as heavy-handed, and they're having the same or lower case numbers as we are. Well, there you go. Maybe we can adopt more of that approach. Or, oh, they're doing this, and it's helping people understand what they need to do in this regard. Like, oh, this is how they're communicating this. Or like, oh, they didn't shut down the schools for this long, or whatever it is. That's the great thing about how we have the states having their own freedom to differ, is that it's kind of allowing multiple experiments to run at the same time. So the smart thing would be to look at all those experiments and say, okay, so that's how that's going out. That could actually be better than what we're doing, and just switch like that. But instead it becomes this thing of like, the bad guys are actually doing well. Well, we need to find a way to switch that and flip it and twist it so that we can still stay doing what we're doing, even though it's not working as well. But we've already set sail with this. And so we can't do what they're doing because what they're doing is bad because they're the bad ones. This kind of politicized, I mean, it's silly. It's also very immature. That's something that's really grasped me lately is like, I have this sense that everything is just a giant high school. And the only reason that we get so tied up with these ideas and these debates and these arguments, and we everything turns into like this horrible stalemate, is that like kids, we're so immature, we don't actually understand what we don't yet understand. And that there's this other plane, right? When you look at things from a different way and you just kind of step outside this, brutal gridlock, for or against, constant, like, fear state or whatever it is. And you step outside of that and you just don't participate in it, and you just have a different perspective on all of these things, and you don't come to things with this like really black and white fearful narrative. It's not good.
So last thing I'll say, and then we'll move to the second part, is I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor. Talk to your doctor. We're not giving advice. I'm not giving advice. I don't want to, give advice to anybody. I really don't.
Are you trying to like please the algorithm or something?
No, I'm not. Because to be honest, I don't give a shit if
no
YouTube takes me off
the
this channel.
algorithm.
It's not like I'm a millionaire from my YouTube channel.
You already called
so
communism retarded, so we're blocked.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm sincerely saying that.
And not because of the word retarded, but because you critique communism. That's going to be the strike.
I'm seriously saying this because I don't know everything. And it's very important. Cyber Socrates, if he were here right now, he would say, hey, you don't know everything. So, that's something that I think we always have to be on guard, whether you're on the left or the right or the center, where the fuck you are. It doesn't matter if you even know where you are anymore.
Yeah.
Try to remember that you don't know everything, and try not to get super hardcore into sides. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't need to make maybe everybody take show their papers to when they're getting a vaccine, but also you don't necessarily need to be like, ivermectin will save the world. Like there's nuance in these things, and you don't really know, and all we can do is struggle through and try to figure out as we go along. So I'm really, because we haven't talked about the subject that much, I really am saying it because it's a thing I've stuck to, is that I don't want to influence people to do something as possibly important as have a medical procedure. I really don't, because I don't want that on me. Like, everyone should be thinking this on both sides of it. They should be having a little humility and think, maybe I shouldn't push what I think so much, because if I'm wrong, I maybe just fucked a bunch of people. Yeah. That's all I'm trying to say is like, I'm no doctor. Cyber Socrates is not a doctor. And I'm ready to go to AMA part 2.
That's okay.
You're sure as shit not a doctor.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Actually, I'm more of a doctor than you are, though. But that's okay. We won't.
You're
go into
not
details.
at all.
I am, though.
I'm
like
more of
I
a doctor.
am. I majored in psychology.
You
majored in history, and like archaeology. What are you gonna do? Doctor up like bones or some shit? Like old.
What are you gonna do? Doctor your own mind? I mean, that's not working
right.
out very well.
Doctor mind. It's literally what I do without a license.
That's right. Well, why don't you prescribe me some ivermectin and
for the mind
as a doctor online? All right, great. I'm sure we've done a great job here. I think we've gotten multiple strikes on our YouTube account. We probably alienated a huge amount of the audience, and great. This is a really good idea. So
yeah, that's the beauty of telling the truth, is that, as Nietzsche says, he says that you have to stand alone. Boy, and boy will you. Boy will you.
Goodbye.
Oh, I have to tell them, if you want to see the next portion of this, because it's one episode split in half, you can sign up to the Silver Eye Society, where you will hear, I'm not sure if there'll be more unfiltered rants than this, because I don't think we can go that much further, humanly possible. But you will get more information about our favorite thinkers and what we think about Jung's collective unconscious. That's what we're going to discuss in the second part of this episode. So like it, subscribe, follow us. We're being shadow banned. At least I am. I think I am. So
everyone thinks they're shadow banned.
I know, everybody thinks they are now.
I've been shadow banned. No, it's not.
You're just unpopular.